And welcome back. We are here in Game 1 of the Vanquish Gaming 2v2 Gold Tournament Finals. For those of you rejoining us after our semifinal match, you may have some questions and may have wondered if you entered into some kind of time warp because you don't remember seeing a finale for the semifinals. And let me just take a few seconds to explain. Just like with any live competitive match, everyone here at Vanquish Gaming and on the competitor side do as much as possible to make sure that real life and extenuating circumstances don't get in the way. Unfortunately, in the case of Mentat Bob, as part of the Mentat Bob Cello team, certain things may have arisen on a personal level that urgently required attention. And unfortunately, just like anything in life, when something personally urgent arises, you must go. So we understand that, but in the same breath, we have to move the tournament forward. So unfortunately, that resulted in a disqualification for Mentat Bob and Cello, which of course fast forwarded both Inukshuq and Magus into the final spot. So here we find ourselves on Tempest with Magus and Inukshuq double Zerg versus Freedom and Costanza for the finals. This is a best of 7 and this is game 1. And we will be casting these non-stop for the rest of the evening until we have a winner. So this is our final day of play and our definite grand finale, and it hopefully proves to be a great game. We have Costanza and Freedom, our winner bracket champions, who also faced Inukshuq and Magus in the first round and swept them. Sent them to the loser bracket, where Magus and Inukshuq then only had one loss and managed to go all the way through to the finals, including 2 back-to-back sweeps of very good teams. So they are here on a 4-game winning streak, 2 sweeps, ready to face off against their round 1 competitors. And it should be a match of the ages with triple Zerg. Who would have ever seen that coming? So let's take a look and see what exactly they have in store for each other. You see Magus and Inukshuq both with drones trying to take down this expansion here, and this is a little futile. Almost seems like it's just designed to aggravate them more than anything, and I don't really see it actually being very effective. It's actually kind of sad to just watch 3 drones fighting each other back to back like that. But you know what? It's early game. People need things to do to boost the APM, so go for it. Meanwhile, at the base side, we've got Freedom already with a spawning pull up, so we should see some Zerglings coming to break up that drone party down there. We also have Costanza coming with the second gate, already has warp gates underway. Magus also with a spawning pool, and a spawning pool for Inukshuq with a Roach Warren to boot. We see their standard play, early rush attack. Basically, they have ridden this through all the entire lower brackets, just wreaking havoc with nothing but a Zergling Roach 5.5 minute, 6 minute rush, really catching a lot of people off guard. Freedom and Costanza kind of rely on a very defensive early game to get the macro rolling, to get the death ball rolling, to really have an answer. So it should be very interesting to see how they handle these early rush pressure from Inukshuq and from Magus. So this is definitely going to turn out to be a very busy early game, as we already see the Zerglings starting to mass up. We see a small ball of roaches forming. I mean, if you've been watching all day today, you've seen that. I'm sorry, all day yesterday. Then you've seen this play out very badly for teams on the opposite end of Inuk and Magus. But it should be interesting to see how it plays out here. We see Freedom getting a little too nosy for his own good, and this Queen's going to do some housekeeping and go ahead and kick that Overlord out. See everyone rallying up here. We see basically the Zergling and Roach mass that we're used to seeing with Zelnaga going for the early map control. And here we go, the early attack at 6 minutes. Looks like it's about to happen, right on time, just as usual. Looks like they're going to split the force. Magus is going to go. He does not have speed yet, though. That is one differentiating factor from these early attacks. He usually was pretty good about getting speed. We see one spine down, and they're going to go for the attack, and it looks like they have a little bit of an advantage. Oh, the speed kicks in just on time, and you see those Zerglings just getting surrounded on as many roaches as possible. You see the roaches up the north just kiting those Zerglings completely. They're going to go ahead and go in, and they need to take that sentry down. Boom, they pop it immediately, and you see now this is starting to look very bad for Costanza, as his stalkers are starting to take severe damage from these Zerglings, trying to kite them as best as possible. You see Freedom's Roach is finally kicking in, and it looks like they will push this back. Some very good early harass, definitely making Freedom and Costanza probably rethink this early defensive game and how easy it's going to be for them. They for the most part have gone uncontested early on to try and defend themselves, and you see another mass of Zerglings coming up here. Spine Crawler going down, as Magus also doesn't want to make the mistake of leaving himself open. And Inukshuq going for another expansion. They're going to go ahead and try to go 4th base on the 3 base that we see from Costanza. Oh, and Costanza just on time building his 4th base as well. He's saying, hey, I don't want to be left out of this macro party. Let's get this thing started. So here we go. We got 5 stalkers, a handful of roaches versus what seems to be a nice zergling ball forming up and another roach ball coming up. Seems like it's a little slower than the rate of speed that Freedom is building up his roaches on the other end. That may be good for Freedom and Costanza, as you know they're definitely going to need those units to counter these non-stop attacks that are more than likely coming from Inukshuq and Magus. We see nice economy. Let's take a look at the econ tab. We see that Inukshuq and Magus, fairly good spread between the two of them. Magus definitely the more macro out of the two. Usually see Inukshuq expanding much later. There's some banelings coming down. Not really sure if the banelings will have a purpose here though. There doesn't seem to be much light units outside of a handful of zerglings. And there it is, Costanza's typical spy going on here. We see an overseer coming down though. This is one thing that no one has managed to do successfully against Costanza, which is get eyes on these spies, get some visibility on some of these observers and start taking these things out. Don't let Costanza just completely map you out. Don't let the Miley Cyrus blimp float around just taking pictures left and right of everything that's going on, Shut it down. Hide those private parts. You don't want to let yourself be exposed like that, wind up on the front of Inquirer with a bunch of stalkers and a death ball in your base. And here we go. Got Costanza finally maxing out this expansion here. He looks like he's getting the econ rolling. We see Robotics Bay down. He's definitely looking to get some blink on those stalkers. Long overdue probably, but he's definitely getting his macro up. We see lots of spines coming down. That's going to be good news for these, bad news for these roaches, good news for the other roaches, as Freedom is definitely defending this expansion for all it's worth. And we see Inukshuq very late on saturating this expansion. It's going to be challenging for him to be able to keep up at this point. We see his econs below 1,000, everyone else above 1,000. You see his workers, he's a good 15 workers behind everyone. He's going to need to catch up, especially since they've kind of relented on their early attacks. I mean, this is kind of a little unusual for them. Usually we've seen Inukshuq and Magus do a lot of early attacks, a lot of early battles, and basically keep the pressure on, and they're sitting back. They're letting Costanza do what he likes to do, which is get the death ball machine rolling, and they're basically giving Freedom an easy time defending the bases. Freedom's early game is usually very intense, and he's got it very relaxed right now, so it's allowing Freedom to even mass up his own set of his own little war chest here. And it's starting to look very dangerous for them. The econ is definitely benefiting right now, the red and purple team here, and we see a little bit of a split going on. He's going to try to keep this overlord out from peeking. We don't see much of a death ball yet, but it looks like he's just hoarding up a ton of resources. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him start to go for a 3rd and 4th base pretty soon, as they're just literally going completely uncontested here. Just complete massive roaches, no speed on them yet. +1 on attack. We see 2 more gas going down. That's going to open up Mutalisks and Infestors and even a Mass Hydralisk build and give him a lot more flexibility in that. Finally see some Zergling movement here, taking the Zelnaga, holding that center tower. Can barely just peek at these roaches. We're seeing the roaches come out now. These Zerglings need to get out of there. They are not going to be any match for those roaches or that Stalker Ball. That is a very, very strong armored build right there. Unfortunately, these banelings have nothing to do. They are in the unemployment line. They have just become victims of the global recession of this map because there is absolutely nothing for them to kill. Might as well burrow them and keep them for later. You see the 2 spines going into action. Roaches just rolling in. Baneling bombs going off, damaging some of the roaches. And some Hydros here completely cut off by those force fields. It does not look good at all for that expansion. Those force fields partially protecting his hatchery though. You see overlords flying everywhere, scurrying around. Inukshuq needs to get those units in, evacuating all these drones. This is not looking good at all. Needs to do some damage on this. Hit some of those roaches. You definitely got a good build. Finally see some infectors coming in. Need to get those fungals down. Show that you can throw down some fancy things too. And there go the fungals. The fungals are down, but not enough Hydralisk to do the damage to follow it up. This is not looking good at all. This expansion looks like it's about to get foreclosed on by these roaches. And I don't know why these workers are coming back in. I mean, this is not the time for collective bargaining agreements to be successful. You need to get out of here. You need to go home. This is too dangerous. And oh my goodness, these Zerglings come in and finish off the rest of these roaches, barely saving those workers. Unfortunately, the hatchery goes down, quickly rebuilt by Magus. But wow, what an exchange of events. Just, I thought for sure those roaches were going to just push through completely, but fortunately they were able to hold it off. Now we have Colossi on the scene from Costanza, every Zerg's worst nightmare. Magus also taking advantage of all that back and forth and go ahead and creating expansion up here. What he needs to do, though, is stop this train of minerals and send them up to this expansion. Just get them back to work as quickly as possible, He needs to get his own jobs bill in order here and just send those workers up immediately. Inukshuq finally getting his expansion, for the most part, up and running. This gas extractor could use a few more, and there we go. We got a nice creep spread here from Freedom, definitely keeping an eye on things. We got these 3 infestors just hanging out here. And oh no, here's something we haven't seen Costanza do yet. Sending in some DTs. We do know that there are observers on the field, but it just so happens there are none on this base. So he's going to go ahead and send those DTs in, and he's going to alert his presence. And there he goes, slicing away at that queen, taking out some of those workers. And this is very bad, and we see one DT off to the side. He's keeping that as an extra surprise, so when this one goes down, he has another one to send back in. It looks like he's going to go ahead and pull out and count his blessings while he can. Those infestors with fungal growth can detect and damage these DTs, so he definitely wants to keep them safe. And this is what you don't see this enough with DT play, people pulling back. Too many times people move them in there and they just say, screw it, I don't care if I lose them. Instead, he's keeping them alive, and you know what? They're great scouts for harassment. There's definitely an expansion up here they could end up harassing and finding. We also see a bunch of Zerglings hanging out over here, so there's still a lot of damage they could do. But at the very minimum, you always want to try to keep things alive. And we see Magus with plenty of observation now, just detecting everything. And we see more creep moving forward. He has eyes on this. He should try to take those out. Definitely want to stop that creep spread, as it's giving him great line of sight. Meanwhile, back at the Freedom base, we have lots and lots of roaches forming up here, and we have a nice little death ball moving around as well. You see him just kind of marauding around, looking to expand, protect expansions, playing a very conservative game right now from Costanza and Freedom. Just, that one push, and then they kind of backed off of it very easily. I thought for sure they might try to send in a second wave, but it looks like they're really respecting the double Zerg right now. Don't want to take any chances. See lots of bio here, 16 Hydralisks on the field, lots of burrowed infestors. This could be very tricky. If they can get the micro down, they can really pull this off. See Freedom also going for another expansion, very far away though. This is going to be a little questionable. I think this might be a better location for it given the travel time, but he's going to go ahead and go for a very hidden expansion. It's going to take him a little while before he can get that worth it. And he's taking out some creep tumors here from Magus, definitely trying